All right, just making a quick preview video of the new Jackery 3000 Pro. This thing's going to be available on March 27th, and you can get a pretty big. Actually, you got to buy a discount code. We'll get to that more here in a second. But basically, just a quick recap. You know, it is a 3,000 watt hour battery and 3,000 watt inverter as well. And we do get this new 30 amp outlet. This is kind of brand new to Jackery. This is the only model that has it. And of course, we get this, slight redesign. It's very similar, especially, looking at it from the front. It's very similar to the other Pro models, but we do get these nice handles on the side that are just kind of like tucked into the unit, right? So they don't have the folding handle anymore. And obviously, that's just going to be better because this thing is going to be quite heavy. Probably around 60 pounds, but still 60 pounds isn't too bad for 3,000 watt hours, right? And then of course it's got the suitcase style as well, where we got the handle and it can roll on the wheels if so you don't even always have to lift it. And then you can buy this coupon for $1 basically, and you get a 10% off, and I'm assuming it's going to be 10% off a sale price as well, right? I mean, typically they're going to have these things on sale for the launch as well. So, but yeah, this is kind of interesting. I haven't seen Jackery do this before. I think Anchor did it before. So maybe that's where they got the idea. But anyways, yeah, up to $3.99 off, which is about 10%. So that's for the solar generator bundle with the solar panels and stuff as they show here. And then just the unit itself, if you want just the unit, it's going to be $2.80 off. And then here's the two bundles that they offer. The unit just by itself is $25.19, which actually isn't too bad, for a Jackery. That's not too bad. And then $35.99 for the bundle with the 200 watt panels, so 400 watts. This is obviously still quite expensive because these Jackery panels are just so expensive. But you could definitely just get the unit and then get some other solar panels like as I mentioned in a few of my other videos. I think right now the best deal are the 200 watt grow watt panels. Those are nearly half the price of these Jackery panels, and all you need to do is get like an MC4 to 8mm adapter. I think there's a brand called Jack Energy that makes the cable almost looks identical to the kind of cables that Jackery has. They might even be made by the same company, who knows. And so you can just get those, and you can save a ton of money doing that. All right, let's just talk about the specs they provide here real quick. So obviously we already talked about this. The ultra-fast solar charging in 3 to 4 hours. This is actually, I'm a little bit disappointed in this because basically if you do the math, I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's basically using the same inputs as the 1500 Pro, which is 1400 watts max. Across those two inputs, right? There's the dual inputs, so about 700 watts each, and it is up to 60 volts. So it's a good spec, right? It's a good spec, but it's like that's if that's the spec that the 1500 Pro has, like why does the 3000 Pro still have those same specs, right? So pretty disappointing on that. I really wish they had the opportunity here, I think, to really do something game changing, and if they would have just provided a third MPPT controller, right? I mean, it's nice to have two, but I think that this was a big opportunity they missed to provide a third one and actually jump this up to, like, what would that be, like 2100 watts, right? So yeah, a little bit disappointing on that, and we'll talk about we'll go over the charging a little bit more here in a second. Now they do mention charge in piece. So 30 decibels, that's actually, very quiet. Now all of these Jackery Pro models are actually pretty quiet, but the other ones do, they do about 45 decibels, which is, it's not too bad. But the reason they're saying this one can do 30 decibels is because of the app, right? So basically that's going to be at like a slower charge. I would assume at the faster charge levels, it's going to be the same as the other models, which again is not bad. But if you do want it super quiet, again, that's where it's so nice to have the app. And since we're talking about the app, this thing is going to be Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, so that's great to see both options, because obviously Wi-Fi, you need the internet connection, but you can do like a remote monitoring of it. But with Bluetooth, no internet, but you have to kind of be within 50 feet of the unit or something like that. But still, we like to see having both options there. And then just kind of a little thing to note is kind of funny. This is the first Jackery I've seen that has an actual dedicated power button. They got rid of the display button, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how that works. Again, you'll probably be controlling like how the screen turns on and stuff like that, and if it stays on and whatnot, you'll probably be controlling that in the app. One little thing I noticed here that's kind of interesting is you see this little line pointing up there. Basically, they got rid of. There's no switch just for the DC, the car plug, which is a little bit disappointing. Is that basically means it's going to be tied, to the USB section as well. So, I always like to see separate switches for these circuits, and Jackery's always had separate switches for these circuits. So, kind of like why not just have had another button there, right? So, yeah, a little bit disappointing on that as well. Now, let's just talk about the design here a little bit. I always like to kind of go in depth with these design reviews. I'll just kind of touch on it a little bit here. One thing I am kind of glad to see is, the vent on the side. They've actually, it's mostly black now. So, I kind of, I do like the orange accents that Jackery uses, but, it's just kind of like a little much, especially on these bigger units, because that's like a big piece of orange plastic, right? So I like that they've gone with that black, and then they've just, had the orange basically for the handles and a little bit of accents on the wheel there, right? And I like this little detail as well. Now, something that's kind of I find real interesting, I'm just kind of curious and almost baffled about, is I don't know if you can see this. There's like a little it looks like a little USB Type A plug coming out of the unit right there. Let me see if I can zoom in here real quick. All right, yeah, so there we go. We can see it a little bit better there. It definitely looks like a USB Type A, but I'm not really sure like what this. Obviously, you're not going to be, it's not going to be some kind of parallel connection, transferring power and stuff like that. A little USB A cord, and even like a communication to another unit, maybe. But actually, if you look over here, this is another unit, like the opposite side. You would think they'd have it plug into there or something. Doesn't appear to be any, port there. So yeah, this thing's just really got me baffled as what this, I don't know, if you have any ideas of what that might be, just, leave a comment. And I think it's kind of funny that it almost looks like they're trying to show it off, right? Like they almost, because I think it actually retracts back into the unit. So yeah, they kind of almost like a teaser. I don't know, something they wanted people to notice it. And then just to go over the charging here real quick, we do get a reset button, and that's a good idea because now we got this thing, from the wall, it can do up to 15 amps, which is about, 1,800 watts, right? And that's going to be like the fastest setting. Now, obviously, you can use the app to basically probably pick whatever speed you want to do. But yeah, 1,800 watts is going to be the max, but you're going to want to make sure you basically have like either a 20 amp circuit in your house, or you're just using it on its own dedicated circuit, right? Because, 1,800 watts, you could trip the breaker in your house. And then the DC inputs, as I mentioned, a little bit disappointing. Basically, nothing new, nothing special there. I really wish we could have got that third option, right? I think that would have been just a cherry on top. And then just one final note about this is, I'm still really surprised they put all these input ports on the back side. Because, generally you want to try to tuck this unit up against the wall, especially if you're using it for like van life or something and space is limited. But the one thing I will say that this unit does have, it kind of makes a little bit more sense than the other Pro models, is because the wheels here, the wheels actually stick out from the unit, right? So basically this thing doesn't sit, it won't sit completely flush against the wall anyways. And Jackery does have those adapters with the 90-degree right angle on it. So, basically, it's not going to be too bad, but you won't be able to get the AC cord in there, right? You have to pull it out a little bit for that. Another Jackery, like a 2000 Pro or something else, and you're kind of wondering, like, maybe when Jackery releases this app, it might work for my unit. No, Jackery's kind of squashed that right here. Basically, you can see here the 3000 Pro, 2000 Pro functionality. This one's got app control. This one, nothing, right? So, yeah, and if they don't have it for the 2000 Pro, they're not going to have it for any of the other models. And then just some final notes on this unit. If you're kind of on the fence about buying this unit because it's still using NMC batteries, just kind of a couple of things to note is that a big unit like this with like a huge capacity, and especially, since they're offering the app as well, like those two things can really enable you to get a lot more life cycles, like basically double or triple your life cycles from whatever whatever they rate this thing at. They're probably going to rate it at 1,000 life cycles, right? And that's, going from 100% down to 0%, and then, starting at 0% and charging all the way back to 100. I made a whole video on this on life cycle, so I'll put a link to that in the comments or the description or something. So definitely check that out if you're interested. But yeah, basically the advantage that a unit like this has with, like, 3,000 watt hours, like a big capacity like that, is that, generally you might not even need to use that entire capacity at any given time, right? Basically what you can do with the app too is you can kind of set limits on the discharge and the charge. So basically you could do, like, set the minimum to be 10%, and then the top that you charge it back up just to 90% or something like that. You can probably pick whatever you want. We'll have to see when the app comes out. But the reason why you want to do this is because, it's basically harder on the battery as you approach 0%, and the same thing on the top end as you approach 100%. So you kind of want to avoid those areas. And with the app, it just makes it super easy, because you can just set the limits on the app, and then the unit will just shut off whenever it hits those numbers. So just by doing that, you're going to get a lot more life cycles than what the thing's rated for. And then, you could really even get crazy and get conservative with it and do, like, say, like 20 to 80% would be the range that you always use. And think about that. With 3,000 watt hours, you know, that's almost the same amount of capacity as, like, the entire 2000 Pro, right? So, like, that would be like the 2000 Pro going all the way from 100% down to 0%. You could do that with this battery, get the same amount of capacity, just going from 80% to 20%, right? And if you do that, that's going to be super easy on the battery. Like, this thing will last many, many, many years, right, if you do that. And then another thing to factor in with a large capacity like this is, just think about it. Everything you're doing as far as output and input is going to be at a lower C rate. So I mean, let's just take this example. Like imagine you're outputting 1500 watts, or you're even charging at 1500 watts on this unit. That's like a 0.5 C rate. So like if you were to do 1500 watts on, like, this, let's say the 1500 Pro, for example, so same load, that would be a 1 C rate. So basically, the higher the C rate, the harder it is on the battery, the more heat you're going to create, the faster you're going to degrade the battery, et cetera, right? So by having a large capacity like this, you're always going to be doing a lower C rate. So basically what I'm trying to say is, like, I wouldn't worry about this unit not lasting that long, right? Like the life cycle issue compared to, like, LFP batteries, like this battery will probably last you 10, 15 years. And then, when you start getting into those numbers, like, all batteries are just going to start to degrade, just from the number of calendar years. But safety is another aspect, a reason why people like LFP batteries. But I think, if there's one company that you can kind of trust to make NMC batteries as safe as possible, it's probably Jackery, right? They're kind of known for going a little bit overboard and over-engineering the safety systems on these things, as far as having, like, multiple layers of BMS and just, like, redundant systems, safety systems to kind of keep these batteries in check. So yeah, just a quick preview of the 3000 Pro, again, available on March 27th. And that's probably the day they'll have the Amazon listing live as well. So, and as usual, I'll do kind of like the full listing review once that goes up. But that's it for now. So, hopefully you just found this interesting or helpful. And yeah, thanks for watching.